Alright, so for this next matchup, so if the last matchup was the number 2 team versus the number 3 team overall, I believe this is the number 1 team versus the number 4 team. Moldy Milkers are looking like the second best team and never back down right now. I think they'll be the second seed coming out of there. So honestly, this could be a preview as to what the final to what the playoff matches will be for the first rounds. Um, so a good little start here to this week. Rush Hour versus Molly Milkers, I think, could be a little bit more even. Maybe. See, the thing is, with all these tanks, though, there's just so much damage on the other side. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Molly Milkers, very nice surprise of a team. A triple tank team is not really expected in Overbots, but it happened. And it's pretty good. So let's just get this started. It's going to be beginning on Midtown. They played on Midtown last week against Microfish, actually. Just looking over that VOD. So our second outside of division match of the day should be a good one. This is a top dollar, top shelf team going up against a solid up-and-comer here. Rush Hour has been good since last season. This season they are just another level. Alright, so Rush Hour will be on defense first here. The black and white soldier duo, once again, in here. The triple tank Moldy Milkers. So this is a brother versus brother matchup. Chase versus Dash. Whatever brother wins this is going to take all of the honor for his family. The other will be a disgrace, surely. Alright, here we go. Here comes Dash's squad. They are going straight in here. They're going to hook the Junkrat and immediately falls down. Good start here for Moldy Milkers. Can they capitalize on this, though, as Soldier and Rhine just cleave through the enemy team. Oh my gosh. Soldier just getting all 4 kills, putting his foot down, saying, nah, you can take my Junkrat, but you can't take me or the rest of my squad. And holy guacamole. Molly Milkers. First push stifled. Alright, here we go again for another fight. Roadhog gonna get pinned off the point. Doomfist going in pretty deep on that BAP. However, Kiri's gonna be the first to fall. BAP's gonna go down next. Doom and Ryan are gonna trade charges here, and that is gonna result in another Rush Hour victory. And wow, Rush Hour looking dominant here. Losing their BAP this time around, however. They still are able to pull out the fight win. And here comes the Moldy Milkers. They are back for another fight. Going to push in here. 2 minutes already gone from this clock. You got to be a little worried if you are Moldy Milkers. Comes in. He is going to get pinned. Kiri TPing up in the sky. She's going to get traded out for the rat. However, Ryan diffing and Soldier just doing their part. Rush Hour proving why they are the #1 overall, well, projected #1 overall seed. Looking like a dominant force of nature, hard to overcome. Hate to be on the other side of this squad, and I think I am this week, unfortunately for me. My squad's kind of in the dumpster. Anyways, Doomfist going to get in. Kiri's going to be the first one to fall here, though. And comes the Shatter and the Aimbot, and this is really rough for Moldy Milkers here. As Rush Hour just, once again, asserting their dominance over this league. And Moldy Milkers will get about one more push here. But man, this is just rough. You are getting... Maybe this is just one of your worst maps. You lost against Microfish on this map. You proceeded to 3-1 them afterwards. So maybe Midtown is just not this team's map. Kiri's going to go down. And the Rommel is here, but I don't think it's nearly big enough. And we might see one more fight. I think we will, maybe? Either that or that is just the end, because there's not a whole lot of time left here for a push. I don't know if they can get the touch. We got 16 seconds to get over there. Hog's probably going to bust his chops to get there, but I don't know if we're quite going to make it to that fight. 8 seconds. Okay, so Hog going to get booped out. Doom, not able to... However, Kiri gets the touch. Actually, we might see a fight win here for Moldy Milkers. We will. Okay. Okay. In the nick of time, Bap managing to trade out 2 before going down. It's crazy. I think Moldy Milkers should have this point, though. Just barely able to make a push at the end here against Rush Hour. Soldier getting a bit stuck. He's trying to come back here for a clutch himself. However, he will eventually just go down. And holy cow, Moldy Milkers are actually able to take this point. That's counting him out on that last push. Here come the Moldy Milkers. Kiriel is coming through here. Roadhog popping his whole hog through that window. Rom slowly approaching. Comes the Rhyme Pin, however, it's not going to collect any value, and Bap is going to go down. Kiri's going to fall next. But Moldy Milkers coming out on top of this one, and suddenly what looked like a full hold is now slowly turning into a little bit of a push here for Moldy Milkers. A squad of tanks doing their part. Seeing Midtown extended was not expected, especially I really thought Rush Hour was going to full hold there. Here comes the Riptire. This could be massive. It does get Hog. Doom going on the Bap in the back line. However, Kiri's going to be the one to fall. Bap will eventually go down. And here comes the Rommel. The Rommel is actually massive. Rom and Doom putting in work here to clean up this fight. Junkrat getting very low as he backs out. Will eventually die. Moldy Milkers looking like a pretty solid team here. They might be able to take a map or two off of Rush Hour, which would be very intriguing to watch. Ryan's going to go in. He gets very low, and he is eventually just going to fall here. And Rush Hour just slowly pushing. Our Moldy Milkers slowly pushing through. They got through the first point in overtime. Oh, are we going to touch? Okay. Oh, no. Okay, they do touch. So both points. Essentially with no time on the clock left, you do take them. Moldy Milkers slowly pushing on Rush Hour. Ryan is going to go down here. And Bap, very likely. Ryan versus Roadhog downstairs, getting real hectic here. Moldy Milkers just doing their part here, winning some fights, fight after fight, as many as they can. Just trying to see if they can get this to the end. It'd be really crazy if we did, because how poorly the first point went for them. But here we are. We're on third point all of a sudden. Rounding this corner. They need to win probably one more fight, maybe two. Doom does cancel that Rhine charge. Hog just getting inted on in the back, however. Doom able to take out Bab. I don't think that's going to be enough though. Soldier killing one. Rhine getting the ROM. Doom is able to drop the rat. However, all you have left now is Kiri, and she is about to get shredded. Not long for this world, and that will be where the payload will reside. Rush Hour just needing to push the point there to win it now. You see if Moldy Milkers can do something similar to Rush Hour on their offense. But for now, this remains a very strong hold from Rush Hour. Top two team, our top team looking a little bit faltering against this, what I assume or presume to be the 4 seed. I believe they've already lost to AI, and I believe they've already lost to they lost to Logi Swords, right? Actually, I could be wrong. I don't think that they might not have played those teams yet. Let me go check my schedule real quick to see. So let's see. Yes, let's see. So this is Moldy Milkers. Moldy Milkers have lost to AI, yes, and they have not yet played Logi Swords, I suppose. So I guess it's not fair to compare those two, but I would say they're below AI, and so I guess either them or Logi Swords are 3 and 4, I suppose. They are both number 2 seeds in their divisions, though, I believe. So we are seeing the better halves of the divisions playing today, at least for these first 2 matches, which means the next 2 matches will be the lower halves of the divisions, as anticipated. In fact, I think the next match is me versus Krusty Crushers. We are the only teams to make a trade this season. We made a package deal trade, and I ended up dropping Sombra for Sigma. We're going to see how that pans out for our squads later. However, we got a Midtown to watch, and it looks like a very odd push here, because I think that Rush Hour just barely going to take this over with their rat. So they do take on their first push, though, which is huge here. A lot different than Moldy Milkers. And that is a pretty good sign if you're Rush Hour that you are probably going to win this map with this massive time bank on the clock. Roadhog going to come around, but he's not going to grab this touch. Ryan's going to go on the side here, and this could result in a glorious pin. It will. Doom is going to go down. However, Rom able to find the Junkrat, but not going to be much. I was just too happy following the Rhine. Missed most of the rest of the fight, and that will be Rush Hour winning that fight and coasting this payload through here. Very well see this being a 1-0 Rush Hour. Let's see how Moldy Milkers can do in the underpass. Roadhog gonna make his way down there now. Gonna sit right on that point. Ping comes through, does not get anything. Moldy Milkers just sitting on this point. Soldier gonna start shredding to this ROM. However, the Riptire is gonna come out here, going down, and it's gonna hit the Doom, but not quite kill him. And that will eventually result in a Rush Hour victory here. So Moldy Milkers just not quite doing enough on attack, I think. So we see the major flaw coming through here. Their defense hasn't been too stellar yet either. Against Rush Hour, it's hard to be stellar against Rush Hour though. However, on the bright side, Ryan and Soldier on Rush Hour seem to be stuck. Okay, not anymore. So even though you didn't win the fight, you won the moral victory of the payload not moving very much. Kiri gonna go down. However, Soldier gonna get traded out here. Suddenly it's a 3v3. Although Bap and Junk are kind of out of this fight, so it's kind of an odd fight here from Rush Hour. Rush Hour looking a little bit split, bit scattered here on Midtown. Could be something to exploit for Moldy Milkers. It just seems like the Rush Hour bots are a little bit confused, which is never what you want to see from your bots as a coach. Okay, Ryan is half HP. He's low in the room, and he will eventually just fall there. Looks like Rush Hour could very well lose his map still, I guess. Although I think Ryan's brain should be a little bit reset now that he has died. A lot of confusing plays going on there from Rush Hour. They did win a solid fight in the underpass, however, they weren't able to push the payload very far. Alright, so here they come. Going to be back for another crack at this. Soldier going down first. That's not what you want to see here for Rush Hour. Junkrat's going to be soon to follow. Moldy Milkers holding on to this. However, Ramen's going to fall. Don't think that's going to be quite enough, though. Bap just doing his part up here. However, once again, I just don't think, despite these picks Ryan is going for and actually capitalizing on, I don't think it's going to be enough here. Does get the Kiri. So he's pinned 2. He's putting his team on his back a little bit right now. Just not quite enough because the respawns just keep coming in here. Ryan seems to be a little bit confused on this point. However, here we go. Now Rush Hour finally starting to push through this. They do get Ryan getting those pin kills, just doing his own thing all over the place. Eventually is going to work out here as they do start to push the payload finally. And this means they can take this checkpoint, and they will probably now secure this map for themselves in the 1-0 Rush Hour lead. I believe they will probably do it now. We'll see. Not a whole lot of time left now, though. So maybe not. Especially with Moldy Milkers taking out Ryan. You know, maybe Moldy Milkers do have a chance in this, I guess. Very, very odd map altogether we've seen here. Comes the Riptire. It's going to get Rom. Okay, Rush Hour just proving why they are number 1 overall squad to root for. This push is looking like it's going to come to a close, and very likely will be a 1-0 lead for Rush Hour. Moldy Milkers putting up a good fight. They do get, I think, one more chance. If they don't C9, that is. So they do get on this payload. They are going to contest for a little while longer here. Kiri, however, being the first to fall is not a good sign. However, 2 possible picks there. And Bap gonna go down. Roadhog doing his part on the cart here. We'll get this Junkrat hooked. However, just Junk versus Rom on point now, and I think that's gonna result in a Rom victory. And it does. So 1 minute 44 seconds. Moldy Milkers holding on for dear life. I was thinking Rush Hour, after seeing that first attack, I thought they were gonna just coast through, but now suddenly we're sitting at 1.5 minutes here. Just before the box of victory, and Moldy Milkers actually giving themselves a chance at winning this. However, that Soldier ult I could just see being huge. Ryan is in pretty deep here. However, oh yeah, that is not good. He does get booped around by all these tanks. Moldy Milkers putting on a good show here. 1:07 now, and all of a sudden, this very good, almost untouchable looking team is now put in a spot where they have to win one fight. Can they do that? Will they get about maybe 2 cracks at it? It looks like actually maybe just 1. Depends on how long this takes. Hog getting all the support in the world here. Ryan's going to pin into that, and Bap is going to go down, and all of a sudden, Rush Hour. Uh-oh. What looked like a solid map for you to win is now suddenly turning in Moldy Milker's favor. 24 seconds left on the clock here, and now you need something big if you are Rush Hour. The immortality is looking on the brinks here. These Moldy Milkers are bringing them to the edge. Ryan able to trade out the ROM. Going on this Doom, and eventually Bap will fall. So, however, they're on the payload. And guess who's nowhere to be seen? Oh, Doom barely coming in time for the touch. Rush Hour gets off the point. ROM on point. He's pulling down the Rhine. And I think Moldy Milkers are going to do it. Moldy Milkers are going to take the map. Moldy Milkers up 1-0. Oh my word. I'm having a conniption right now. I'm surprised. I really thought that Rush Hour was going to push through there. However, they just got held up on that second point. A lot of shenanigans going on with not pushing the payload. Wasted so much time, and then that third point just all came crumbling down that last corner. Couldn't quite push through it, and they couldn't match the pace set against them. Wow. Moldy Milkers, 1-0 in this series. Let's go to Ilios. See what happens here. Rush Hour, formerly untouchable looking squad, only really struggling against Logi Swords thus far in this season, are down a map in this series. Can Moldy Milkers do this? Can they pull off an upset here? Against Rush Hour. That would be something, huh? Especially since this team was brought to the brink by Microfish. One of our lower tier teams. Zen is a very strong carry on that squad, I will say. Alright. Here we go. Rush Hour looking a little bit mortal here. Moldy Milkers gotta be feeling good after winning that first map. Here comes the Hog. This is his hole. However, he does miss his hook. And Ryan does not miss the charge. That is going to result in an easy team fight victory here for Rush Hour. And Doom just yeeted himself into the hole. So far, so good. Rush Hour coming back in here, putting their foot down a little bit after that first map. A little bit of a upset for them, I'm sure. Here comes Roadhog. Does miss his hook. Alright, maybe it got shielded. Can't be certain here. Hog gonna eat that charge for his squad, and Bap being the first one to fall here. Not exactly ideal if you Rush Hour, especially since Ryan getting so low, and Roadhog putting in work, killing 3 at the end there, is going to result in Moldy Milkers taking this flip. And Rush Hour, you just gotta be so nervous. This team looks like your kryptonite here. If there's one team that can beat you, it might be the one with a bunch of tanks on it. Of course, this team has, Moldy Milkers have definitely looked vulnerable in the past. There are a few teams out there who do deal with them fairly handily. Okay. Alright, Soldier putting in work here. However, Bap's going to fall first again, and Soldier getting pushed into the hole is going to result in a Moldy Milkers victory on that, and they are going to pass them in percentage in suddenly Rush Hour. What looked like an immortal team at the beginning of the season is now being brought to their knees by this Moldy Milkers squad. All of a sudden, this is looking like Moldy Milkers might just be the better squad here. Especially, you almost full held them on Midtown, and then you proceeded to lose that map That was an insane map by Moldy Milkers the more I'm thinking about it. Okay, here comes the whole hog. Going to push them back. Soldier gonna take out that Kiri. Ryan gonna be pushed into the hole as he tries to pin it. Oh my word. Moldy Milkers just dispatching of Rush Hour. This has got to be one of the most surprising matches we have witnessed thus far. I can't remember who Moldy Milkers lost to. I'm trying to remember who they lost to. They lost to AI. So that's their only loss at the moment. Which, you know, that's a pretty good loss to have if you're going to have one. However, Rush Hour was able to beat AI. So now we got this another weird rock, paper, scissors situation in Overbots. Some of our top teams just seem to be counters to each other. Okay. Rhine able to sustain through with that BAP window. Kiri's going to be the first to fall, however. This is a 2-for-2 trade. I think Roadhog just put in enough work, though. He should be able to beat Soldier in 1v1. Maybe not, though. He doesn't. Okay, Soldier. Able to put in the work there. And Rush Hour still in this point of Ilios. They still are in well. They could still win this. This is insanely tight. Alright. Here comes the good old Moldy Milkers. A team that did not touch victory at all in Season 1 of Overbots. Now looking like a top contender here. It does get pinned into the wall immediately. Hog's going to go down. Here comes the Rommel. It is freaking massive. And that is going to be Moldy Milkers taking this first point. I think Kiri does go down. I don't think Ryan's going to just clutch up here, but yeah, that should be it. I don't think we're going to see a touch. Alright, Moldy Milkers taking this first point, and all of a sudden we're one map away from going 2-0 in the series, and then a long road ahead of Rush Hour if they want to win this, because wow, facing down the barrel Rush Hour is. This is surprising. The squad, who has been dominant thus far in the season, just getting completely manhandled by Moldy Milkers, who was also manhandled by a team that Rush Hour manhandled. So Rush Hour is greater than AI. AI is greater than Moldy Milkers, and Moldy Milkers are greater than Rush Hour. Is what I think we are witnessing right here. We are witnessing the ultimate rock, paper, scissors in Overbots. So this could come on down to, in tournament play, this could come down to, actually, well, I think these two teams, I think it could go either way with these two teams. These two teams look like a tight matchup. It could come down to seeding in the finals. You don't want to be matched up against whatever team is good against you. Alright, here we go. Rom. Going in hard. And man, Rush Hour are just getting ran over here. This is a surprising result, as any. Moldy Milkers just doing an excellent job at pushing out this very dominant roster that has been so very good for the first, undefeated, might I add, for the first 2 weeks of Overbots. In 4 matches, they have have they dropped them? They've dropped 2 maps to Logie Swords, but that was it. Now all of a sudden Moldy Milkers pushing them to the edge and pushing them off the edge at some points here. Alright, Rush Hour going to make another shot at this. Here they come. Ryan getting pretty deep in here. Kiri will be the first to fall. Shower giving them an opportunity to win a fight here, but instead, oh, it's a 2-on-1. So, Soldier putting in work here once again, able to take the point as the last man standing. 70% on the board here for Moldy Milkers, though, in Rush Hour, you gotta be nervous. You are already down 1-0 in this series, and now 1-0 in this next map. Your chances are getting away from you a little bit here, and all Moldy Milkers have to do is win, like, maybe one more fight on this Ruins, and all of a sudden you are down 2-0 in this series. However, if you do turn this around here and win the next point as well, can make this a 1-1 match, and you're going to be feeling pretty good about your odds at this one. Alright. Wow. This is an impeccable series we are seeing here. Very good showing from both squads, as Rush Hour just putting in the work, trying to reverse their fate. Some of the Moldy Milkers, though, very tanky squad. Alright, gonna throw out the pig pen. Here comes the Doom ult. Bap is gonna be the first to fall here. Not a good sign if you're Rush Hour, especially when your map is on the line here. Some trades going the way of Moldy Milkers. However, Soldier sticking it out against the Hog. However, Hog's going to win that 1v1 this time. Last time it was the Soldier winning that. This time it is the Hog. And now one more fight for Rush Hour to remain in this series without going down 2-0. You really don't want to go down 2-0, because then you have to win 3 maps back to back to back. Alright. Comes the Rhine Pit. It does go into the Hog. It's probably one of the least valuable targets you can get with that, as you can just heal it all back up and damage resist. This is going to result in a Rush Hour defeat here, and I think we are going to see a 2-0 lead for Moldy Milkers. Wow. The previous undefeated gods of Overbots are now on the ropes, down 2-0. Let's see, this team, not Moldy Milkers, excuse me, Rush Hour, they have been 4-0, and they have a plus 12 differential. Wait, no, they don't have a plus 12, right? Yeah, plus 9. So that means they've only dropped 3 maps up until this point. And now they are almost doubling however many maps they've lost. Alright, here we go, New Queen Street. This is where you need to turn around. We just saw this in the last series too. Deja Vu. I've been in this place before. Logi Swords and AI just played on this map. AI coming out on top in a 3-0. Just last match. Seeing our top teams contend here, and they're both of these games have been close. They just haven't been close in map score. It's like the better team just barely edging out the other in each map. This could be much of the same as Moldy Milkers, looking like they might have Rush Hour's number. And this just creates more confusion and really just randomness to this league, as there's so many teams that have intricate dynamics fighting against other teams here. Like I said, there seems to be a little bit of rock, paper, scissors going on in the league, where some teams counter other teams, vice versa. Creates a lot of very interesting matchups here. Alright, Ryan is going to go in. If he can get this Doom pick, that could be huge, but he does miss the pin. Kiri's getting very low in the back here. Soldier and Bap working together to take her out. Bap's going to be the next to fall, however. Trades going each way. 2-on-2 on point here. Rom versus Rhine. Now it is just a Junkrat versus Hog, and I think Roadhog is going to win this. This is a matchup you don't want to be in if you are a Junkrat. Alright. Moldy Milkers doing their part here. Take that first. Teamfight victory. The only squad that Moldy Milkers have struggled against up until this point, to be fair, has been the AI team. So I can see to an extent that this team is pretty solid. Moldy Milkers, very good draft. When they saw some extra tanks just hanging on the board there, they decided to pick them up. Seemed to be a good plan. all together. How about Rush Hour? Gonna get a quick team fight victory here, it looks like. Just gonna be dropping both the soldiers. And looking very similar to what we saw between... In fact, this image is almost identical to what we saw between AI and Logi Swords. I'm actually getting deja vu because that's about where AI pushed it before Logi Swords came in and won a fight. And then they took another fight about right here. And AI did, I believe, win that fight and just brought it right back and got the checkpoint. We'll see if history repeats itself. This is like deja vu. Very different teams, though. Alright, so this time it looks like a Rush Hour. Ooh, big ult by Rom, though. Going against a lot. And, yep, it does look like, wow, history does repeat itself. This matchup looking very similar right now to the way that, wow, AI and Logi Swords went. Really, really weird deja vu moment here. Just last series. I would recommend go watching the VOD, the final New Queen Streak, because it looked very similar to this. And these two are going to start pushing it up. I don't think they're going to get the checkpoint, though. That's a little bit different. Doomfist is going to go down. Rom probably going to be soon to fall here. Not long for this world. Big shatter. Here comes the aimbot. And that will be a team fight victory here for Rush Hour. They're going to try to push this payload and get the checkpoint first if they can. I don't know if they'll be able to pass Moldy Milkers here. So that's where the similarities end, because, like I said, AI was able to grab that checkpoint, I believe. But it now looks like Rush Hour might get this lead here. There's going to be a fight before that happens, so we will have to see. Here come Moldy Milkers. Kiri goes down very low. She will eventually be taken out. However, two are already traded out on your side, and now Moldy Milkers have control over the point. Ryan's still up, though. Just holding up his shield, watching them as they're taking the point away from him. Oh boy, Ryan. Ryan making a little bit of a risky decision here. So the rest of his team is down. He is pushing around, and I think this is going to result in some pincering. Doom going in 1v4. Not a great plan. Hog's probably going to fall here soon. Not quite able to grab that checkpoint. And suddenly Rush Hour. Now you're going to like your odds a lot better if you're Rush Hour. Winning those fights means you are probably going to be the first team to get checkpoint. More than likely. Well, maybe not. We do already have the respawns in here. It's going to be really dependent on whoever gets checkpoint first, I think. Okay, I think we might see one fight before checkpoint. However, if they pass that gold line, they will have the lead. That's almost as good as the checkpoint. And they will. Ooh, Kiri going down immediately. Not what you want to see. And the checkpoint is given over to Rush Hour. And suddenly Rush Hour looking very good on this map here. New Queen Street. Giving them hope. Similarities of that AI match and Logi Swords match. Looks like it's about to end here. As Rush Hour now have the lead. And they have first checkpoint, which means they have all the advantages you want as a bot team. It is all up to them to now just take the... Pretty much getting the first checkpoint is oftentimes leads to victory on push. We could... Well, team 5 victory coming out here from Moldy Milkers, though, is a something you don't exactly want to see if you are Rush Hour. There is still hope for them in this map. However, spawn advantage is huge. Does mean you will be able to take an earlier fight. And you will not be given over this checkpoint quite yet. Here comes Rush Hour. Kiri getting a little bit behind her team here. However, the Rommel immediately coming out could result Ooh, Rom going down very quickly. Nice awareness here by Rush Hour. Able to win that fight. And now this 2-0 series is about to look... It's looking like it's going to turn into a 2-1 pretty quickly here. Moldy Milkers. Gotta be nervous here. Yes, this is a very lethal squad you're up against, and if they beat you now, it's gonna feel a little bit rough, especially after those first two maps going so heavily in your favor. Although, who am I kidding? Midtown was extremely close. Some trades coming here, and it looks like it's favoring Moldy Milkers, so they will be able to win this fight. Can they evict this Rhine? Been a pain in their sides. 3 tanks on 1. Not very fair. However, we have not seen a first checkpoint taken for Moldy Milkers yet, which means we will anyways, Rush Hour, sorry, I'm going tired mode. Anyways, Rush Hour just barely losing their forward spawn right there. Will mean if Moldy Milkers win this fight, it's going to take a lot longer for Rush Hour to get back, and now all of a sudden Moldy Milkers will have their checkpoint, and with 2 minutes left, they just have to win a couple more fights here, and they could have the lead. So checkpoint will go over the way of Moldy Milkers, and now you need to win another fight here. I don't know where that... Okay. Your Doom is a bit spread out here. Having the spawn advantage is nice if you all do die here. Junkrat does eventually lose his tire. Kiri's still up. Rom's going to be in there now. Soldier getting very low. Bap is going to get traded though. Soldier, okay, so 2 on 2 here. Rom and Hog are going to make short work of this Rhine. So despite everything going Rush Hour's favor at first there, Moldy Milkers do eventually push through here, and we're getting very close to what seems like the end of this map. Just going to be really dependent on these last couple fights here. This is coming down to the wire. 1 minute left. And that's where you need to push it if you are Moldy Milkers. Doom already on your backline though. If you are Rush Hour, Kiri going down. That is a big pick for Rush Hour, and I think they are going to edge them out in this fight. I don't think that is going to be the end of the map, though. I think we are going to see one more fight before the end of this, at least. Actually, whoever wins the next fight will probably win this series, or win this map. Rush Hour holding on to the ropes. They're not going down yet without a fight. One more fight will decide. Well, maybe 2. One more fight for Rush Hour, two for Moldy Milkers. So, here comes the Suzu. This is going to result in probably a very quick victory for none other than Moldy Milkers. And they will be spawning in time that we will see one more fight here. However, we do have that Hog ult. No ults on the side of Rush Hour. And this is coming down to it. Can they secure the 3-0 for Moldy Milkers? And you're wrapping around long. This is not good. This could just be it. They might not even get the touch here. They might not even get the touch here. Junkrat just barely able to touch in time. However, he is going to go down, and that is going to be it. Moldy Milkers 3-0 Rush Hour. Wow. That is not expected at all. An unexpected matchup here. Upset in the second match today. A 3-0 of the best team in the league, theoretically, and now all of a sudden Moldy Milkers are tied with Artificial Intelligence in their Never Back Down division. This shakes up the standings significantly, actually. And Rush Hour are going to fall down to 4-1. How odd is that? And now it seems Being a little bit more parity in this league. Wow, okay, well, we'll see how the next match goes. Oops.